Let's go down, Jack. What about Danny Sullivan?
Well, Paul, the reason Danny Sullivan's beginning to pick the pace up a little bit, do you remember when Scott Pruitt had his problem? They cut short the practice session by 3.5 minutes. The team of both Al Unser Jr. and also Danny Sullivan didn't get to scuff in the total number of tires they wanted. So on that last pit stop, this team, Danny Sullivan's team, elected to put the non-scuff tires on, knowing that if they could hold on until they got scuffed in, that they would come into play and they could resume a really fast pace, and that's what's happening now.
Well, Jack, that and the fact that when Danny looks at his rearview mirrors, look what he sees. Emerson Fittipaldi, he is under a lot of pressure. This race is really getting tense at the front here.
And one of the reasons for that, Sam, is everybody was a little concerned about fuel, so everybody stayed a little bit out of the throttle. They didn't short shift, but they stayed out of the throttle. Now everyone feels they've got plenty of fuel. They're letting all the stops out.
Danny Sullivan tried the move inside in the first turn, darted out, couldn't get past, and so he continues to chase Al Unser Jr. in third place. It is still Emerson Fittipaldi.
Good view of the front end of these new Galmer cars. The wing assembly, which you see there on Danny Sullivan's car, designed by Alan Mertens to channel the air up over the tires in a way to reduce the aerodynamic drag of those front tires. When Gary Gerald and I talked to Alan Mertens yesterday at some length, Mertens refused to divulge the real secret of this front end and kept it covered up, but you can see it now because it's in a race.
Well, they really can't cover them up. I don't know why they do that anyway, but by the same token, what it's doing, Sam, is trying to put the air where it still goes underneath the tunnels. That's what really holds these cars to the ground, the tunnels, underneath the car. That's where the ground effects really come in. And if the wings are a wrong design, the air doesn't go underneath the tunnles good.
From time to time, you can get a good idea of the tunnels, not on this shot, on some a little lower. They are the open spaces underneath the two sides of the car.
And which makes it just like a vacuum cleaner. It actually sucks the car right to the ground.
A little negative pressure under there, and the cleaner you can get the air into it, the better it's going to work. That's Jim Vassar, the Stars and Stripes car in the pits.
Jim Hayhoe owns that car, a guy that used to race with us many years ago. Vassar, of course, that came from Formula Atlantic last year, and he's really quite good, Paul.
Jim, by the way, came up to me and said, you know, this is pretty expensive sport. It's changed a little bit. You bet it is. This is the top of the order. 16.5 seconds for Jimmy Vassar. That's a good stop for a new crew. And there's the 21 car, Buddy Lazier, as he comes in and out of the pits.
He's been in and out all day here at the race, having a lot of problems. Buddy needs to get a good break and have a couple of good races.
Buddy Lazier in second grade won a reading contest. Does that sound like a big deal? Well, it was because Buddy was dyslexic, and still is, and he had memorized the material. You know, three-time world champion Jackie Stewart is also dyslexic, and like Stewart, Buddy has extraordinary drive and determination. He's never let the dyslexia stand in his way. He's a college graduate, savagely good skier, and of course at 24 years old, he's a terrific driver.
Third place, Emerson Fittipaldi in Jackaroot.
And Paul, this is a critical stop for them. They wanted to come in a little early so they could get the better rubber on, but what is going to take the most time is they need every ounce that is in the fuel tank. They're shaking it. He's down and away. 14.8 seconds, a very quick stop.
Now, the thing about ammo is, coming in early, that's a Roger Penske design. Roger thought of that because there's no traffic. Look, he came in with no traffic, he left with no traffic. All the fuel they had could go in the car anyway, so it was good thinking on Roger's part.
Emerson Fittipaldi comes in with 30 laps to go in the end of the race. That's well within the fuel window that they have already responded to. So we'll keep an eye on what it will do in terms of positioning on the race course as Al Unser Jr. and Danny Sullivan continue to battle it out for the lead.
It was a good time to stop, of course, unless there's a full course yellow between now and the time that the two leaders have to make their stop.
But historically, Sam, we don't have full course yellows. And Roger Penske's team are gambling people. They go for wins rather than just finishes.
Boy, I agree with you. I think it was a good move.
I think, in fact, what you're thinking is historically they don't have full course yellows toward the end of the race. We've already had two here today, and that, in fact, is a little bit unusual. So they are taking a gamble. Al Unser Jr. still being chased by Danny Sullivan as Rick Mears comes into the pits.
Rick running back in 7th place, uncharacteristically far back, even on a road racing course, which he has not excelled at over the last few years since the injury to his feet.
Those are the new Penske cars also, and it looks like they're going to be very fast. On the tracks like Indianapolis and like Michigan and etc. But on the road circuits here at Long Beach, the Penske team has always had problems, it seems like.
New Nigel Bennett designed car, brand new engine in that car. Al Unser Jr. still in front, Jack Arute.
And Paul, they are going to gamble. They're making a big change. Just moments ago, they rolled away the set of tires that they were going to use, and they rolled up on the fronts. They broke a set, literally. The fronts are scuffed. They're worn tires. On the back, they're going to put two literally brand new tires on the car. So that's changed their set thinking.
As you see Scott Pruitt come in for his stop, still having a pretty good day. Scott Pruitt running in 5th. You saw the sign said, let's know how your brakes are. That's a question, brakes, and reset your fuel meter.
Yeah, which means reaching up to the dash and pushing a button, and it resets the menu in the computer.
And that's
I think he just did it.
Yeah, that's very important because that's what gets the computer going. So tell the driver so he can tell the guy either by radio what his fuel is doing, what his fuel consumption. But remember, we've only got about 24, 25 laps in the race. So fuel is going to be easy for most of them right now.
That stop ran rather long at 23 seconds for Scott Pruitt. Bumped him to 6th place. Scott Goodyear got around. And Al Unser Jr., there's the crew laid out for Bobby Rahal's car. He's running in 3rd now.
And he's only 3 seconds back going into the stop. He's really been coming up.
All the crews are ready for the leaders now. Little Al is just 0.3 of a second ahead of his teammate Danny Sullivan, and Bobby Rahal is 3 seconds back from that.
Now this is going to really be something when they come in the pits. We're really going to have to follow that close because same team, same general bunch of guys that work together and practice their pit stops together. So it's going to be interesting to see how it comes out.
This is where the pressure is really on the crewmen waiting for their car to arrive at the pits. Incredible.
And Al Unser Jr. makes his turn into the pit area, and he comes down for his stop. So Al Unser Jr. is in, Jack.
And Paul, it's like precision craftsmen as they go to work. Let's listen. They've changed the rear tires, as we said. Brand new rear tires, old back tires. They clean the radiator area, and they're away in 12.4. Let's go to Gary Jarrow.
And Bobby Rahal, we had him at 11.7 as he hustles right out behind. He was further up towards pit in, so he's got to try to make up that distance. But Carl Hogan leading the cheers. This was a terrific stop.
Danny Sullivan stayed out on the course, picked up the lead. Al Unser Jr., Bobby Rahal, Emerson Fittipaldi have all made their stops.
The rules of most teams are the guy that's leading between the two cars, he pits first. The guy that's running second in the team race pits next. Bobby Rahal goes next. Little Al incidentally got held up a little bit by Scott Goodyear coming in because it's so important when this man right here was that close behind him.
First place, Danny Sullivan in, Jack.
And Paul, they have not had any problems whatsoever other than that one little tire snafu. They are taking on fuel. They've finished the exchange. The fuel, they still have plenty in the tank.
And here comes Al Unser Jr. off of the last corner as Danny Sullivan kicks the throttle and roars out of the pits. Can Danny maintain the lead with Little Al on the charge? Little Al screaming down toward the first turn now. They'll join right down there at the end of the straightaway. Here is Sullivan maneuvering into the corner. Here is Al Unser Jr. coming right in behind him. So the battle is on. The pit crews did their job. The final stops are complete, and Danny Sullivan is still in front.
Now that shows you one little holdup by Scott Goodyear. He just happened to be, not his fault, he happened to be coming in when Little Al did. That has put Little Al back this far for sure.
They say races are won in the pits, and there is a perfect example of it right here.
And Al Unser Jr. is right there and closing in. He looked to the inside. He is going to do everything he can to worry Danny Sullivan now as they come toward the hairpin now. Danny Sullivan is out in front, but Little Al is still doing everything he can. The decision may come at the end of this long straightaway as they come onto the pit straight. Al Unser Jr. is set up trying to catch Danny Sullivan, but Danny Sullivan pulls a little bit away. Still Al Unser Jr. now as they come to peak RPMs, approaching 13,000 RPMs, closes in, and Little Al comes to the inside, and Al Unser Jr. picks the lead up again from Danny Sullivan.
As I've said many times, Paul, there isn't anybody that can drive into a turn from high speed as deep as Little Al can. He knew that. I could watch him when he came off the hairpin, how hard he was crouching on behind back of Danny, and I knew he was going to try a pass right there.
And I don't think Danny was 100% confident on those new tires. To you, Bobby? He seemed tentative during that lap that he was leading.
At the race driver school, they'll tell you do all your braking before you do all your turning. I guarantee you that didn't happen here. And Little Al was modulating those brakes as he turned in, made a little move to the outside, and then swept right down inside of Danny Sullivan. So now it is Little Al Unser Jr. that has the lead of the race, having just taken it away from Danny Sullivan.
Stay tuned for World League action from New York at 8:30.
After battling through the regular season, the NHL survivors are through to the playoffs. Wednesday night at 10:30 on Screen Sport.
The pit crews have done their jobs. The final stops are complete. 84 laps of the 105-lap scheduled distance is complete. Thus far, it is Al Unser Jr. now inching away from his teammate Danny Sullivan. You can see Bobby Rahal with the stops picked up third place. Emerson Fittipaldi dropping to fourth, and Scott Pruitt in fifth. Right from the time when Ren Rooney of Toyota gave the call to start engines, we've had a great day in the Indy cars, but it's also been a great weekend with the Pro Celebrity Race. One of the great weekend events here is, in fact, the Toyota Pro Celebrity. 2 years ago, our colleague Jack Baruch participated in the race and was on hand to report this year's run.
This year's Toyota Pro Celebrity Race saw plenty of action. The annual affair pits 16 drivers in identical Toyota Celicas. But fans knew early on that instead of IROC, they were witnessing IREC. First turn, first lap. Ian Ziering of Beverly Hills 90210, Mike Bielmer, and Joe Amato connect with the tire wall. Coach star Craig T. Nelson showed early muscle until Tim Allen of Home Improvement used more power to park him. Nelson tried to continue, but the damage was terminal, ending the day for the leader of the Screaming Eagles. Even the pros weren't spared in this crash fest. Former Indy 500 winner Parnelli Jones collided with Bielmer, and then Allen, in desperate need of Binford Super Brakes, gets into it. Tim, minus his trusty assistant Al, culminated his day with this incredible pirouette. At the checkered flag, P.J. Jones, son of Parnelli and an IMSA regular, took the victory. Second place went to off-road racer Rod Millen. And NHRA Top Fuel drag racer Joe Amato won the celebrity portion. By the way, Allen finished 13th.
And like any great race, eventually becomes Chris Poop. The promoter here has turned this from a single race into a wonderful weekend happening on the streets of Long Beach in the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. The battle now is the Indy cars, and it indeed is a fight. Al Unser Jr. has picked up the lead of the race in his Valvoline car number 3. His teammate Danny Sullivan sits about a second and a half back. You get a glimpse of him from time to time. Bobby Rahal runs in third place. Fittipaldi fourth, Scott Pruitt fifth, and Scott Goodyear in sixth.
The crowd is reacting tremendously to this race. Every time the leaders go by, they come to their feet. In all the years of racing at Long Beach, which started back in 1975, I think this may be the best race we've seen.
The race summary after 85 laps. He's led 38 of the 85. Average speed is at 189.9 miles an hour. And, of course, we've had 2 different full-course cautions, 11 cars out. Most of those are gearbox problems.
Yes, they have, Paul, but looks like the cars are left back in now. No gearbox problems. I've just been timing Little Al, and he's just slowly pulling away from Danny Sullivan, and mostly by traffic, whatever they catch.
Let's remember how Al Unser Jr. got into this position. He has, of course, that onboard camera. He was chasing his teammate Danny Sullivan just a few laps ago. And here was Little Al's point of view as they came onto the pit straight. Of course, the next turn, always a critical turn because it's a sharp turn at the end of a long straightaway.
We talk about his smoothness as a driver, and Bobby made the great point about how late he can brake. Watch how deftly he does this. You see, he doesn't lock a wheel. He doesn't jerk the car from side to side. It's a perfect move.
So Al Unser Jr. is out in front. His teammate runs in second place. Both of these cars, brand new Galmers, and Jack Arute, they were designed by Alan Merton.
Absolutely, Paul, and I'm with him right now. And Alan, you've got to be absolutely ecstatic to see your Galmer chassis running so well here at Long Beach.
Well, naturally, of course, I am. I mean, we're all pretty excited. But as usual, it's all down to fuel at the end. We're cutting it pretty fine. We're just keeping our fingers crossed.
Now, can an engineer do something to assist that fuel situation? Can you inherently design some things?
Well, I mean, obviously at the basic stage of the design of the car, all you can do is get the drag out of it. But right now, obviously, it's down to the driver.
And it's also nail-biting time because he's got one in first and second.
Well, Unser Jr. now can he hold on? 89 laps are complete. The 105 lap scheduled distance. Danny Sullivan continues to chase him.
And keep in mind, Paul, what the team managers will call the drivers, tell them what they think the fuel is doing. Little Al can tell them by radio what his meter says on the dash, and they'll figure it out and tell him to short shift. For example, just to stay ahead of Danny Sullivan wouldn't be the contest if he knew he was going to run out, because second better than parking on the track.
Only man to win 5 straight races at the same track. A.J. Foyt at Trenton, New Jersey. But is Al Unser Jr. on his way to matching that feat? Al Unser Jr. with Danny Sullivan still there, keeping track of the leader of the race. Bobby Rahal still sets him third. The leaders running right together on this sack.
Such a great ride.
Tangled up in some of the flags and banners at the edge of the course. He had a great ride going. Now follows down through the order. He was running in 5th place. And when Scott Goodyear comes past this side on the track, then Scott Goodyear will move into 5th.
This was something that Pruett's team really needed, a success here. He appears just to have lost it cleanly.
Looks like the corner coming off of Seaside was slick for everybody that came through it. This is the onboard camera view, Bobby.
You notice that the cars are getting in the air, too. There you coming in, he just got loose. There was no reason, nobody was close to him. It's slippery down there. Probably somebody's losing a little bit of oil, a little bit of water, Paul.
Isn't it fantastic that when you have an incident, the next thing is we can see it as the driver sees it? Isn't that fabulous?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
He could not keep the engine going, got tangled up, and now the IndyCar safety team is going to give him a pull, and hopefully will get him back into the running. And there come the leaders past. Al Unser Jr., Danny Sullivan just behind him. Bobby Rahal sits in 3rd place. Fittipaldi runs in 4th. 95 laps are complete.
Just to wrap that idea up, one of the whales is now going to be named Little Al. I'm not sure they shouldn't name the biggest one of all after it.
So the fight continues. 96 laps are now complete. We're in the closing moments. Will Al Unser Jr. make it 5 in a row? And Brian Till, he'd been missing, had an engine miss for a couple of laps, and then suddenly the engine let go. He was running in 12th place, and with the attrition in this race, despite this situation, Brian may in fact be able to hold on to 12th position.
That's the Judd engine that Scott Pruett rode with last year.
These aerial pictures that have been coming to you throughout the day help show you the coverage. They've all been courtesy of this magnificent airship. It is a newly painted and newly renamed Airship Eagle from nearby Carson, California. There are the shots down, and of course, they're looking on the lead. Al Unser Jr. being chased by his teammate, Danny Sullivan, and Bobby Rahal. Every lap inches just a little bit closer. Emerson Fittipaldi is in 4th, and now Scott Goodyear is up in 5th place. And perhaps this will be Scott Goodyear's best finish ever, despite one spin and one stop-and-go penalty. 5th would be the best he's ever done in the IndyCars.
Just in case anybody knows the Paul, there was a safety truck out on the track, and they're going after Brian Till. Sometimes the fans watching TV might just wonder what that extra was on the track. Going too slow, of course.
Well, they were able to pull Brian Till back into a separated area between the wall and out of harm's way. I assume now that they will leave that car there until the end of the race, because it is only 6 laps away. 99 laps are now complete, and Al Unser Jr. flashes over the start-finish line, completing the 100th lap. And in the Callis Graco pits, they can't believe it. Shelley is worrying herself to death, wondering, can Danny Sullivan and his crew close in? And can Bobby Rahal close in? There's Debbie Rahal, keeping track of her husband. None of the cars are in contest at this moment. They're lined up, nice and single file. Emerson Fittipaldi, though, closing in. On the Seaside straight now.
It's amazing. If the race is this long and at the end of the race, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4 cars, all on the same lap, and they're definitely going to be racing each other whole bunch harder in the next few laps.
Less than 2 seconds between first place and fourth place, and of course any chance the drivers might have to try to economize on their fuel is out the window. They've got to race and race hard.
Who's going to win it now with just 4 laps to go? About anybody's choice. You consider it, you've got the Galmer chassis running 1 and 2, last year's Chevrolet engine. A Lola, last year's model, running with last year's Chevrolet engine, running in 3rd place. Brand new Penske, brand new Chevy engine, running in 4th place. They all perform just a little bit different. In some places, one will be stronger, in others, another will be. And now, Al Unser Jr. and the rest have to deal with traffic.
And yet, only 4 laps left, and look at these cars. They're virtually running just about the same speed, Paul. Look at that.
Danny Sullivan taking advantage of the traffic, comes inside Little Al. Little Al touches him. Little Al spins it. The 2 teammates get together. Little Al now tries to get the engine back under power. He tries to roll forward. The radio report, no doubt, will be coming to this man, Rick Gallis, as Little Al tries to come around. But there's very little time left. Danny Sullivan is out in front. Rahal is second. Fittipaldi is third.
And it's pretty clear that it was Danny Sullivan who touched Little Al's rear wheel there. So this is going to lead to recriminations within the team and a possibility for Rahal at the last minute.
Remember, the cars, Little Al was so long getting going because the turning radius and all these Indy cars just isn't very sharp. Not sharp enough for him to gotten out of that little blockage that he was in there.
How devastating to come this close to his 5th victory here and have it taken away so savagely right at the last minute. Rahal on the attack. Sullivan very much back in IndyCar racing after a year.
And here comes Rahal coming to the inside. Little Al, by the way, dropped into 4th place when he finally got it back under power. But now Rahal sees his opportunity for 2 in a row. And he begins to charge at the back of Danny Sullivan's car.
There's no laps left. He's got to go for it. Time is running out. And Rahal is passing. Has got to be at the end of the long straightaways. One of the 2 of them, the front one and the back one.
The engines in 1st and 2nd place are the same. The difference is in the chassis and certainly in the driver's skills, though they are both wonderfully well-matched competitors. Both of them Indianapolis 500 champions. Both of them PPG IndyCar champions.
Were Sullivan to hang on an all-new chassis, the Galmer chassis would win in just its 3rd race, an incredible achievement.
103 laps into the record book. Al Unser Jr.'s chance at a 5th straight victory go by the wayside when he taps with Danny Sullivan. But the question one must ask is, did in that tap any damage occur to Sullivan's car, which may manifest it here in the last laps?
I doubt it, but I think the pressure on Sullivan is now incredible, because if he loses this race to Rahal, he is going to be a very bad guy around the Gallis-Craco team.
Well, he didn't do it intentionally.
No, of course he didn't. I understand.
Racing is very close.
The white flag comes out. There is just one more circuit to go, 1.59 miles. Danny Sullivan has the lead here. This is one of Rahal's chances. He doesn't take it as they go into the first turn. Now they will have to single file. Maury Cranes watches his car. Debbie Rahal keeps track of her husband. Now they move back, heading for Seaside. That is the last reasonable chance that Bobby Rahal will have. His objective will be to try to move to the inside at the end of this straight and outbreak Danny Sullivan going into the corner. Here is Rahal. He makes his move, darting toward the inside. He can't get it done there. Very little opportunity now. It would be a remarkable maneuver if Rahal could get past. As Danny Sullivan heads for the final turn, and Danny Sullivan is now on the pit straight. Both of them coming up to speed. The checkered flag lies just ahead, and Danny Sullivan, facing the checkered flag, has taken the win for the Gallis-Craco team. Danny Sullivan with his 16th career win, his first win since the finale in 1990 at Laguna Seca. A very tired man, a dirty helmet, and a dirty car. But it doesn't matter the way they appear in victory lane.
Racing gets hard right at the last. The cars are empty of fuel, really light, too light for good braking. Tires are all worn down pretty good. Those guys were trying so hard, Paul.
So Danny Sullivan takes the win. This was the decisive moment as Sullivan came down the inside. Now watch carefully. He's alongside Little Al. Little Al turned right across the front. Little Al still owned the racetrack at that point. Tapped the left front wing on Danny Sullivan's car, and Little Al's car got loose. He spun it, fell back to 4th place. Little Al's view, the same situation again, heading for that sharp right-hander at the end of Seaside. Now he's on the brakes. Danny Sullivan is coming to the inside. Little Al turns into the corner, and they touch. And the race is effectively over at that point. And Al Unser Jr.'s dream of 5 consecutive wins at this track ends as he slides to a stop just inches from the barrier. Across the line in second, Bobby Rahal, who made a valiant try in the last laps. Emerson Fittipaldi in third. Little Al in 4th place. Scott Goodyear came by in 5th. And Rick Mears stayed with it all day and came by in 6th. So Al Unser Jr. takes the win in the Toyota, or takes 4th in the Toyota Grand Prix as Danny Sullivan wins it.
Well, I felt so bad.
Well, we're running overtime here in the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. We're not going to have a chance to really talk to Danny Sullivan, who wins here. And we set the stage now for the Indianapolis 500-mile race as we look at the unofficial final results with a great finish for both Jim Vasser and Eric Bachelard. I'm Paul Page. So long from Long Beach.
The IndyCar Series is presented in association with Champion Spark Plug.